What is up, people? What is up? What is up? We are live on the YouTube machine, I think. It's always a wonder that I can get this thing going because I am not so tech savvy when it comes to YouTube, obviously. So welcome, everyone. Obviously, this is the Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time when I take all chart requests from my paid subscribers and I go ahead and do them live. So it gives people a little insight into the way that I approach charts, the way that I look at trades. Obviously, there's a million ways to approach charts and look at trades. By no means am I saying that I'm the expert or that I'm the best in the world at it. It's just the way that I do it. And maybe you can learn something that you can fit into your own system. I should first mention once again that this is for paid subscribers to request. I let everyone watch, but I do this for them every single week. In the description below, you can see where you can join the newsletter. It's $15 a month, 2 times a week. Not something that I'm going to shill hard or talk much about. I think those who are members value it, and it's a great product. Also, the sponsor of the newsletter is Femex, and I've thrown them on as the sponsor of the YouTube as well, since they're a part of it. As I wrote in the newsletter yesterday, it's just, you know, when you're in my position, you have a lot of Twitter followers, whatever, you get approached all the time to do things for money, which I just almost never do. And I've been approached by every single exchange. And finally, Femex came along after years of me saying no, no, no. And literally, I mean, I was passing on, tons of monetary opportunity. And no. And then I met with their team. I just had the best vibe. They showed me the product. They allowed me to give feedback. And I started trading there and I just loved it. So I took them on as a sponsor of the newsletter, and it's been an incredible partnership since. So I love trading there and I can't recommend it more. That link is in the description as well. So I'm just giving a chance for a few people. Today has been the craziest day, really amazing. So I always talk about this on Twitter that, I started a podcast in March, and it was not my intention. I didn't even have a plan. The team at Blockworks reached out to me. They do, Charlie Shrem's podcast, Venture Coinist, Pomp, Luke, all these people. And they suggested the idea that I should do one and told me that, they'd make it very easy for me. They would produce it. All I had to do basically was get guests, do my research and show up, and they would produce everything and monetize it. And I was like, cool, but I don't know if that's really for me. And they finally convinced me to do it. And I started doing it. And as I got into it, I started to learn that it was like really the greatest job in the world. You get to reach out to whoever you want because people like to hear themselves talk, let's be honest. And they'll just spend an hour of their lives talking to you and sharing all of their thoughts and everything that they've learned and everything that they're a master of for free. It's like I'm going to college and I'm getting paid by sponsors so that I can go to college and learn from the most brilliant people. Today, I talked to Michael Saylor, obviously. Bull, bull, bulls. First question I asked him was about that song. It's stuck in my head. I swear to God, it's the first thing I hear when I wake up every single morning. 38,250 Bitcoin. Bull, bull, bull. So anyways, I mean, the dude just blew my mind. We talked for about 80 minutes on camera, which is very long for me. And then we spoke for probably 30, 40 minutes afterwards, just completely shooting the shit, talking about the world, talking about the importance of Bitcoin. I tried to convince him to give me one of his 7 yachts. 7 yachts. I want a yacht, but he didn't give me one. And but honestly, man, you got to listen to it when it comes out. The guy is such an inspiration. He thinks so differently, and it's rare you find these people. And I get just doing a podcast, you get to talk to these people. But I mean, the amount of conviction it takes to convince the shareholders, lawyers, board of a public company to put $500 million into Bitcoin with the intention of doing more. And today he divulged that he himself has over $200 million worth of Bitcoin, which I asked him about. And he said, obviously, I need to show that I have personal conviction about it, that I'm willing to lose or gain, alongside the company. And so, he has 25% of MicroStrategy. So he has that risk. And then he has over $200 million of Bitcoin himself. Absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to share that one. The guy is just operates on a whole other level. the term Giga Chad is definitely not even enough to describe him, even though that's kind of the name that everybody has given him. So I've given some time. Oh, and I should ask you guys, apparently when you do YouTube, you have to beg people to hit the thumbs. Today, actually, someone sent me a DM that said I looked like a bearded thumb. I read that on Twitter today. So apparently I look like a bearded thumb. But go ahead and hit the bearded thumb because it helps the algorithm and it helps me feel more popular and that people like me, which is very important on YouTube. So subscribe to the YouTube, hit this thumb, ignore this thumb, but do this thumb. All right, so there are not that many chart requests today, which is not surprising because the stock market has looked like stir-fried shit. And Bitcoin has been doing things to altcoins that are probably illegal in most countries in the world. Just absolutely giving them a brutal beating, very little relief. Doesn't mean that they're not worth looking at. It's just a matter of finding the time and figuring it out. But it's always interesting. Obviously, the amount of requests I get, the amount of comments I get and emails from my subscribers varies very, very much with the conditions of the market, right? So let's take a look. The first request that I got, let me make sure this is all working over here, was for Cake BNB, which we've looked at every single week. Still don't know what it is, but cool. It's always fun to pull up your charts that you've been doing over the last few weeks because usually they're wrong and they make you look stupid. And I'm drinking a huge glass of iced coffee out of a Gator cup. That's what's happening there. It's not soda. I don't drink soda. It's disgusting. So let's look at this. Well, we had kind of a confusion here, right? Because here we had this line, touch, 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 all this, whatever. And it looked like a good breakout. And there was a little profit to be made here, not much. In 1969, 21, nah, no big deal. 10%-ish. But, and then this is the 4 hour. Again, this is a chart that has very little price history. So it's really hard, honestly, to take a look at a chart that's only existed since the beginning of this month or the end of last month, very end of September, and glean much information. But we pulled up the 4 hour. I mean, to be honest, I didn't want to do it at the time, but this was really the first trend, right? So reject, support here, all the way up, support and through, and then look at that square rejection and down. So you could have drawn that there, but I'll go ahead and put it back here. I like this one too, because support here, support here, support here. That's 3 touches, which confirmed trend. These are all very close. Support, 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 break, retest, drop, another retest, and drop. So yeah, this, like, even though you caught this breakout, this should not really have been much of a losing trade if you took it, because your stop loss would have been somewhere reasonably below this line. So if this was following up, your stop would have been rising with this ascending line, which I love playing ascending support, because the longer the support holds, the more you can move up your stop loss and minimize your losses. So, if you had been playing this, maybe you broke out here and you bought it, maybe you bought it when it retested down here, 193, you wrote it up here, you wouldn't have sold, right? Unless you wanted to sell that 50, seeing it as resistance, but you were aiming for here. So this is a losing trade, right? You could either have sold right when it broke, or what I kind of like to do sometimes, if my stop doesn't fire, but I'm convinced there's a breakdown, I'll sell when it hits that line coming back up on the retest. Kind of like you would short something, but I'll just sell it and get out of it. So that wouldn't have even been a losing trade. It would have been even or something, and then all this price action down here. So now trying to figure out what's happening, a little more complex. So first, I would say that we need to add some lines, right? Let me put on the magnet tool. If you guys, I mention this every time, the magnet tool right here, key to life, locks you in, right? Locks your cursor in. I remember when I first started trading you and didn't know that tool existed. It made me feel like such an idiot when I found it, because it's so life-changing. So I would say one align somewhere along the bottom of this. So here, down the bottom of here, something like this. Doesn't really matter. Remember, lines are not definitive. So yeah, that didn't quite get there, but you want to see back above this. So you're going to have this confluence of resistance between this horizontal line and this descending EMA. So It's tough. Maybe we want to go into the 1 hour to get a better look at this, but I would say that we have a support now. So if you're dying to trade it, you would put your stop somewhere below that. But this also looks kind of a little like bearish consolidation after this drop. Reaction, tons of volume coming down relative to what there's been, and less buying volume on the bounce than there was on the selling. So I don't think it's time to get particularly bullish about this yet. Maybe we go back to the 4 hour. Maybe we can find something else to look at here. I'm just gonna move this over here to make it more clear. If you're speaking in terms of like trading ranges, this is a bottom, this is a top. So you got this trading range here. Now you're flipping, see that EQ perfectly flipped to support. So maybe you're looking for a trip to the top of this range now. But honestly, I mean, there's not much to see here on this chart. Maybe now that we have a new view, I would say that this is kind of the overarching view that I would take of it. This is kind of concerning. We probably don't even have one on the daily yet. We definitely don't. Here's something a little bit interesting. If we want to consider these lows, which was the low, you don't see it on the 4 hour. If you go in on the daily, take this off. By the way, guys, another key, I don't know if you guys know this, but on any trend line, any pattern, anything you draw in here, you can go in to the settings and see where it's visible. So if you don't want to see like that local trend line I drew on the 4 hour, on the daily, you just remove days. That line is gone now, right? Like I don't want to see this trading range on my daily chart. Go into settings, right? Ranges, whatever. So I will say what's slightly interesting here, if you look at it on the daily, you always have to adjust those lines, is clearly some liquidity under here, right? This line was broken, snap back, broken, snap back. So if we break, I mean, that if you had bought it right here, that's great. You didn't. So I would say maybe if we get a break of this, you look for, one of the things where it comes out here, it bounces, consolidates, up and up. At this point, if we're below here, you're in all-time low discovery again. So I would say that, which is interesting. I mean, that's a really round number right there at 0.01. So, if you're going to enter here, maybe you put a stop loss here, account for it, for a wick. But I would say that if you're trying to trade this, you're looking for one of these, right? Something like that. So it's pretty much the most I can offer on like an obscure pair. Volume is all relative. I can't believe there's that much cake being traded on the BNB pair here. So yeah, let's go. I also have like a general allergy or aversion now to anything named after food, because it's just wreckage in the food coin market. Okay, DIA. DIA. I pronounce it DIA. I don't know. Maybe it's like DIA, but that sounds gross. Haven't pulled this up in a long time. This was a trading range that broke down. Not surprisingly, broke, retested, gone. So let's start fresh on this one. Let's start at the daily. I always like to zoom out first, but a chart like this on the weekly is hilarious. So even though this chart's only been here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 weeks, you can tell that this is not something you really want to be messing with at the moment when you zoom out, right? Because that's just atrocious. Look at that. It's never had any indication it's going up. There's never been anything but selling on this coin. And I think this is one of those that was pretty hyped on Twitter. Doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean it won't go back up. Whatever. So the first thing I would do is find the bottom and draw a range. First thing I encourage you guys to do when you look at a chart is find the ranges, find the channels, right? Everything likes to travel in a channel. It's really nice and peaceful, and you always find them everywhere. Draw your lines and find your horizontal supports and resistance, and that's it. So not surprisingly, like on many things on this daily here, we're testing the range lows, right? And we have a little wick below. Nice little bullish SFP. If it closes above there on the daily, we should see a trip at least back to 113. That's a big move. We're at 92. So, I mean, you're talking about, 20+% move. You can see this range is good. Look at that rejection at the EQ. That dashed line is called the EQ, the equilibrium. It's the center line, the mid-range of the trading range, or any channel always has that. And it almost always plays. If you're drawing a channel correctly, you should see price action at that dashed line. It's just part of how it is, right? So I would say that you have that as a target. And if you flip that, then you can go up to these highs. Now on a chart like this, like we could draw these descending lines, it would look like a breakout, but not so much. Let's drill this into the 4 hour now that we got this. So we have a 4 hour SFP too, which is interesting because sometimes, like you just saw in that cake chart, actually, when you went into the 4 hour, there was no SFP. There were candles that closed below, opened below, and then went back in. But here we also have it on the 4 hour, right? Still, even a lower time frame candle has not closed below. This is, if you believe in an altcoin right now, if you want to trade, this is a very reasonable place to enter. It's the bottom of the range. This is buying support. Takes some balls to do it because it's kind of scary. But you can buy support and you like put your stop, down here, 842, 845. You want to be below this wick, but you don't want to catch liquidity right below it. So even down here, if you want to be super conservative. So if I was going to trade this here, maybe I'm going to go ahead and just write this so it's on the chart. Should look that. Right? Something like that. Now the ideal entry was 87, not 92. So you've missed some already. But now that we've got this range, we consider this the range high, and we can start to kind of draw patterns off it because it's a definitive place. Now, what's weird is, like, I don't like to draw it when there's two wicks just like that. I like to start generally at the top, but here I'll start like there. Even though it's not quite the top, this one is the top. It gives you that, a less forced line. So I would say we have something like this, and that would be a potential trend reversal. You could draw them here. You could draw it here. Guys, it's totally subjective. This is an art. It's not a science. My lines are no better than your lines. Your lines can be different. There's no reason to argue about our lines. It's fine. Everybody has their ideas, So let's see. We'd be looking for a break of this. So you could buy, depending on your level of, risk, buy here. Boop. Maybe you buy a break of this. Maybe you buy on a flip of this. But also those are targets, by the way. If you're buying here, these are targets. If you're not buying here and you're waiting, a break and then retest is an entry. So every entry is also a target. This is a target. Then if you move it up here, so we could do something like this. Like you could trade it from here with your target being that, or you take the entry there. This is your other target. So, that's an entry. That's target. You consolidate down here, and then this, depending on your risk aversion, you take the support, and then you've really bottomed if you exit this range. So many ways to play every one of these trades, right? One person's entry is when another person's already done, but you might want to sell that resistance, buy again if you see it actually break. Same thing with all these levels. So there's a lot of ways to approach trades like this. I'm wondering if maybe we have a bullish divergence here. No. Oh yeah, of course we do, because we see a bottom. Not going to draw it exactly, but this is only potential. There's only potential. This actually, wait, that already closed. So yeah, this is a confirmed divergence. Confirmed bullish divergence, oversold RSI on support. That's actionable for a trade in my mind if your style is to catch a falling knife, but be prepared to bottom out and lose. But like, let's say you bought it here, right? Auto. Something like this. Stop losses here. Even if your target is just to there at that line, that's a 5.6 reward risk. 7.58 to the mid-range. I mean, 16 to the top, right? So that's a totally, even if you think it's definitely going to go down and you're going to stop out, I would theoretically take this trade. Just like a poker player will push all his chips in, even if he only has a 30% chance to win, knowing that he's going to lose 2 out of 3 times. If the pot odds justify it, you push your money in. That's how you trade, right? You could even, I mean, you could lower your stop depending on the position size, but I think that your idea is pretty invalidated if a candle closes here. But this is a totally justifiable trade with all these targets, and every single one of these has a good enough risk reward to take it. So, you know, looking at, I mean, 1 in 16, you know, you can be wrong 15 times and right the 16th time and effectively, you know, take that trade. So if you think it's going to go there, then it's worth it. And I'm kind of just looking really quick through comments, making sure I'm not missing anything. So yeah, that is the idea with that one. Just got to do something really, really. Just tweeting this again. You guys just saw me tweet live on my phone. All right, so that's my view on DIA. I think that that's a DIA, DIA, Doya, Dama, I don't know. Right, DIA. Ethereum. I am underwater and long on Ethereum. To be totally transparent. Don't really care. Not a big deal. I already shared that setup and I'm willing to ride it down another 20, 25 bucks. I'm trading it on the USD pair on Femex, as I said. Losing on a trade does not make me a loser, guys. Much to the chagrin of Twitter. Okay, first, let's just close that. Ethereum, Bitcoin. Ew, man, that is sweet. This is the weekly, right? I don't even like this line anymore. There's an old chart. But that's this is a really, really key level here. And we almost touched it there. So yeah, I'm not feeling too bad about it, even on the Bitcoin pair. That's you know, maybe it comes all the way down to 285. It's at 292. It's a couple percent. Who gives a shit? You know, you maybe want to capture this back just above, you know, 30.0308 or whatever before we head up. But I still feel pretty good about Ethereum, even on this pair, even though it looks kind of wrecked here. But let's drill in a little bit on that. Yeah, nothing's kind of changed, except for that I don't think we have a bullish divergence anymore, which I was watching to potentially exist yesterday. Didn't say it would exist, just that it would potentially exist. So we had this candle. So yeah, there's not going to be a div because that candle closed here. Wishful thinking. Maybe if we go down, nope, not there. Not there. Tear in my eye. Not there, even on the 4 hour. Totally there in the 1 hour. And that, you know, there's your bull div right there from here to here. And you got this pop. But on 1 hour, that's probably it. Now you have hidden bearish divergence from here to here, lower high, higher high, right? So not too compelling at the moment. We can get rid of RSI altogether. I would just say that looking at that RSI, it's very oversold still in the 4 hour. So seeing a nice pop would not be a surprise. But if you're trading this on this pair, I would say you want to be back above this line to be safe. So, you know, really above here. And guys, you want to talk about resistance support flips. This is a short. You short this. If you're like an active leverage trader, I'm trading the USD pair. I'm not paying attention, but that's a short. In fact, it shouldn't be a check. It should be an X because it's so clear, right? This is a clear swing low test as support. And by the way, this is a long. It's a failed long. But you can long here. That's a long on support. Stop out here, short it here. Break down, clear, perfect retest, back up, and away. So if you want to long this pair, kind of in confluence with that line I showed you in larger time frames, 0.0302, you want to do one of these. Fun, right? So I would say that for now, there's nothing to look at until we capture those levels. I'll even, just for shits and giggles, I'll go ahead and put an alarm on that, just so it'll tell me crossing, create alarm. My alarm comes on right over here. That comes up, spectacular. But really, if you're trading this and you're a pattern kind of guy, or you like descending lines, you want to be above this line. So you might take it here, sell here. That's not a very big move, but you really want to see one of these, retest, and then head up this way. Let's look at the USD pair, probably more interesting. Is it though? I don't know. Not much to see here either. I was buying this basically from 395 down to 382. I think my orders filled. No, it was about 387. So from here down to here, this being the mid-range, and I'll explain to you why again, even though I've done this a few times. I'll explain to you everything that's going on here, although I went over all this with Crypto ISO yesterday. So this was the premise of my Ethereum long. First of all, I should say, looking at this, why I'm generally bullish on it, right? Low, high. Now, you can debate this all day, doesn't matter. Some people will say it's based on the candle close. Some say it's on the wick. Won't matter here, but high or low, if you don't want to call that a higher low, then we can call this a higher low. So it doesn't matter, right? If that would make you more comfortable, spectacular. Low, high, higher low, even though it's only slightly, you have a higher high here. Don't like that one? Doesn't matter. Now you have a confirmed higher high. This is bullish market structure by definition. Low, high, higher low, higher high. Now you could say we have a potential higher low here. Some people would call it one, but it is not. That's why I have it as a question mark, because you cannot have a higher low until you have a higher high to confirm it. So this is not a higher low until we see price action up here above this, right? So this is maybe a higher low. It won't be a high, but you could still have a higher low with price all the way down here before it goes up, or market structure could break below these lows. So you got to be careful here. Oop. Get rid of that. That's why I'm generally interested, right? So the other reason is, A, we had this local support, clearly broke. So my premise on that was not spectacular, but I don't regret it. But we have this huge trading range, very clear, very defined from this high to this low, right? I've also drawn fibs off of that. And this mid-range, the EQ that I talked about before, rejection, 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 all right at that line, right? Huge area. So when we finally broke that on volume on a big candle here and flipped it, I thought that this first test of support here would hold. And it still might, by the way, because this candle could close above here and it would still be that. That's why I'm not really so panicky. And if you're considering these like a higher low, which is potentially true if you consider this a high, then that's why I have my kind of stop loss down below this. I don't really want to see price breaking down below. You could draw it if you want to do a supply and demand kind of thing. Draw this, right? That's a demand structure. So I don't really want to be below here. So my stops are like 350s. So I'm not worried at all. I don't care. I've accounted for it. That was up a little, I'm down a little, it doesn't matter. I would say on the bearish side, at least immediately here, this is an uptrend, so it's whatever. But if you were going to ever short in this range, look at this. You draw this fib from here to here, perfect 61.8% retrace. See that? Rejected perfectly. And of course, as always happens, even though you draw it over here, you go back and there's perfect price action on that line. Look at that support on the 61.8 before this major breakdown. So maybe, come back down here, 38.2 and head back up. But it's a bullish market structure as long as we really you can either call this a higher low, it's depending on you here, how you want it. If we're breaking down here, I'll look for buys down here towards the bottom of the range. So I'm not scared of anything presently on Ethereum. It is what it is, you know? Got a few bucks. Link. If I didn't have a request for Link, it wouldn't be a day that ended in day. Right? Haven't looked at this actually in a while. So this was kind of cool. This break, that was that worked out for 867 to 100. I mean, 86. That's a pretty big move. That was like almost 20% move, which was the last place that we were talking about trading this, and of course rejected perfectly at resistance. So now we're just ranging between these levels, right? So I don't see any reason to trade Link here. The macro, we still have this big black line. That's the line that I would say, like, I don't know if I have it on the weekly. Oh, I haven't pulled up the weekly in a while. This is super interesting. Okay, so I've talked about this a bajillion times. I did a whole live stream on this actually with CoinMarketCap. They had me on and they said, select one asset that you want to look at. And I said that Link had the most bullish chart I had basically ever seen. And ironically, then people accused me of getting money to say something negative about Link, like literally within a day of me going on and say it was the most bullish chart in history, because I said on one tweet that I wanted to buy it slightly lower. But wow, look at that weekly. This channel was from the inception of trading in 2017. Perfect channel, down, up, right? And then we had this massive break and retest, and we're actually still trading above that channel. So I'd say this remains bullish above here. This also has a little bit of a head and shoulders vibe, so I would be careful. But pulling out to the weekly, man, that's really pretty crazy that we're back at the top of this channel, which I hadn't looked at in so long. So that basically is the same channel line, probably. It's not, this one's newer. So, but on the daily, you have this support, touch, touch, touch. You know, these are all kind of close. So on a macro level, to me, you don't want to be trading below that, but a bounce off of it is a sweet potential entry. Just don't really see anything here. You know, I guess we can look in closer. I mean, this is just sideways, right? You need to make a decision. You can move this up here. It doesn't matter, but we need to be above this area in my mind, you know, above. And that's another kind of psychological level, 0.001-ish, wherever you draw it. So look for a flip and movement up. Not much volume really relative. So it's just not really that much interest for people in trading these coins right now. That kind of does look head and shoulders-y though. So like you could, if you're watching for potential head and shoulders, which shoulder, this could all be like complex or whatever. You would be looking at a neckline or something like this. So maybe you add that to your chart just in case, throw an alarm on it. You know, I think this line is completely freaking useless at this point. So let's remove it. Yeah, so that would be, you know, shoulder, 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 something like that. So you don't want to be below that either, because these are clear swing lows. So that's, to me, is an important support. You know, maybe that catches here, maybe something lower. So you want to be trading above that line, and also could take a trade off of that. If it dropped down further today, you know, in the next day or two and hit both of those at, you know, 0.0008-ish, it's a lot of support. So we're going to go look at the Link USD chart. Which that's pretty much done almost what we said it would. When I looked at it for someone, this is kind of an inverse head and shoulders. This was the neckline. You know, I drew this weeks ago. Just hasn't broken this part, but if it gets above that level, I would expect something like that. I think that we can probably zoom in a bit. See, look, even this silly squiggly that's hideous here, we can just get rid of it on the hours. Y'all saw that? It's important. Know your tools. You know, I'm going to go ahead and even delete that. It's telling me it was used on an alert. I love alerts. Alerts keep me from having to stare at charts all day. You don't have to care about anything that's happening on the chart if you set alerts. So let's take this low and pull a support. Our trend line's white to match the dark theme here. I don't even love some of these lines, to be honest. We'll start completely fresh here. I do like that, but whatever. So yeah, let's see. If we take it on the daily, I'm just gonna delete that. I've gotten my clout for my squiggly line already. I don't know, if you draw it on the daily, maybe you could say, ooh, wow, how about that? If you want to buy altcoins right now, Link ain't the worst one, right? Alts scare me at the moment. I'm not like feeling so aggressive about trading, but you know, somewhere down in here, this is a break. Retest, should go up, and you have a clear, very clear invalidation below this. This is something I might take like a leverage trade on if I got it kind of right in there. Because why not, right? You know where you're going to be invalid. You know where your idea is wrong. If you're back under this line and back under this line, whatever, your lines are wrong. So it's not a big deal. So yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I want to drill into it actually, because I want to see what this is forming. This could be a head and shoulders, but kind of looks a little bit bull flaggy. It ain't perfect. So the top resistance is actually more important than the bottom support when you're looking for this, right? So I'm gonna make this white. And I don't like that it starts there. So here, well, it's going to be a descending wedge instead, right? Let's differentiate our colors here. Slightly descending wedge. But yeah, I mean, support, and look where it bounced. That was a buy at $11.09, right? Move your stop up as it goes, whatever. But the real move would be a break of here or bounces off here. But this could be on its way up. I do not hate this setup at all. Surprisingly, looking at alts right now, that's you know, you have this move here. You have higher lows, you have higher highs, like we just talked about. So on a low time frame, Link looks like it could have been reversing from down here for sure. Not bad. Right? Can even draw it on the daily. It's pretty clear. So you got this low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So anything above here would still be a higher low. So yeah, you might even want to like hold your stop till below, you know, 970 or something if you want to take a smaller position and trade it that way. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good actually. Largely will depend on Bitcoin, of course, the USD pair, but no, not bad. TRB, have not looked at this in ages. I haven't looked at this in so long that the relevant lines are, and it's only been September. Oh God, that's sad. Sorry for you. You know, we're down 60% from there or whatever. That's sad, but you know, this is some kind of bullish type not bullish consolidation at all, sorry, but it looks like it's starting to accumulate and there might be a reversal. You could do sort of a inverse head and shoulders kind of vibe. Let's just first see what this looks like. Right, I mean, we got something like this happening. Bottom, this could be, you know, complex, two shoulders, another shoulder, whatever. But so you could look at it potentially kind of as that key resistance. I would say that there would have, you know, this drop to here would have made a trading range here wrong one. Actually, technically over here. That broke down and is kind of breaking again, but you know, at this point, you probably want to drag your range to the lows. And this will probably be right at the EQ or something funny like that, because it always seems to happen. Almost. So, you know, support, breakdown, resistance, perfect support. These ranges, guys, draw ranges, draw them, always draw them. It's amazing, right? So yeah, could be a good entry. If it drops down into there or something, you know, you really want to be back above the range, I think, to be pretty confident that this is reversing, but that's not altogether terrible. And so to that same degree, you know, this is your support in confluence with that. Guys, these are falling knives. Like, I'm not saying you trade it, whatever, like it's up to you. Do what you're going to do, but you could take a position on this here and put a stop somewhere down here. Because if you're trading down here, it's a fake out here. So bad example, but you should theoretically be dropping to the bottom of the range. Doesn't always happen. You saw a fake out right here, causes support. But if you're clearly below the EQ, you expect to head down to the bottom. So I would say a bounce off this area could be reasonable. You could take an exit here. You know, that would be like from 17 to 21. That's pretty good, sizable little chunk. Take it here, and then your real trade is this one here, right? I did that poorly. As usual, my drawing skills are stank, but right here. And then you start, you know, then we can pull out to the daily and let's, you know, figure out some areas we might be interested in. I don't even like these lines. That one should be there. We could draw a line, I guess. I mean, we can make an argument for somewhere around here. Something like this. Break, retest. So this is kind of like your really key swing level, I think. It's right here. So that's it. Never a bad idea to just pull some fibs. If you have a clear top and a clear bottom, hasn't even retraced to the 23.6 yet. So, you know, if this is the bottom, we should see some more continued movement up. Hard to know. Next coin, VET. I mean, if you can see on my screen, I don't know why that's off now, but I already have an alarm on this line, and it's been on forever. Since we passed probably here. So I've probably had this alarm on for weeks, right? I've shared this chart a number of times. These fibs are pulled from this ultimate low to this high here. So we've retraced now, as of today, 78.6. Yet again, go back and look at the fibs. They always kind of line up with price action, right? This is support, resistance, and down. It's amazing. Fibonacci levels. Makes you feel humans are so predictable, right? Ridiculous. Just going to check the comments. Right. I mean, these look like they're starting to bottom, guys. I don't know, but I'm interested. This could also, if this elbows up instead of down, like if we see a little bit of a thrust, or tomorrow, what are we on the daily? Anything above right here where it tapped oversold will give us bullish divergence. I would love to see that. Like, I would love to see this close at like 82, you know, like up here, 85, 86, and give us that. I mean, look at that support. 1, 2, 3, basically a fourth one right at the 78.6 fib. I would say 80. It's a pretty good buy on VET, especially if you're willing to hold this for a while. I mean, this is all up to how you trade, guys. I don't know if your stop losses if you're willing to go down to 20 or 40 or 60, but this will eventually trade higher than 82, most likely, right? So if you're buying it to invest in it, this is getting pretty cheap. So perfect 78.6% retrace. Massive descending wedge, up, down, up, down, up, down. Absolutely confirmed. Now, the only thing that makes me slightly wary here you usually don't get this close to the apex before you see a reversal. You usually get like through 65, 70% of a pattern. So you want to see the strong breakout here. So you always have to be a little bit weary of a pattern if you haven't seen that price action and break. You don't want to get all the way to the tip. Then you see it kind of dribble out and you've been watching the wrong pattern. But still, I would say that the clear entry on this is a break of this top line. Right? That's it. 94, 93, wherever it breaks. You can catch a knife where we are now. We're on support. There's a potential bullish divergence. I could see it. I wouldn't want to be in it much lower than here-ish if that happens, because we're already below this price cluster here, right? This, if you were drawing support, this would be one. So let's put that in actually. And I'm sorry, I just like think out loud here when we're doing this. You know, something like that. So maybe you want to wait till it flips back 87. You could draw it off of here, but I kind of think that like this is where it launched from. It's kind of a more significant area. And if we pull back, maybe this one's better. Let's see. Anywhere around here, guys. And we have that fib there. So choose your line, doesn't matter. Anywhere from, 82 up to 87 is sort of this area of support. So I could see buying here. That's really it for VET. I would wait and see if this bull div appears. See what the 4 hour looks like. I mean, what's crazy about some of these alts, I mean, they're really wrecked, right? I mean, they're super overbought. So we should at least see like some sort of reaction. This is still overbought even with this little bounce. So I don't know, tell you about RSI. You almost always, if you get really overbought, you're getting oversold. Excuse me, they're all oversold. You almost always end up overbought again. You go back and forth. That's what RSI does. Up, down, up, right? There. This one never got all the way to overbought, but pretty damn close, 66. So if you're oversold, you will go back to overbought. Doesn't mean price will be up here. Price could be here by the time it gets there, but these are going to bounce eventually, right? You can catch the falling knife. You can wait for confirmation, but the more I'm looking at these charts with you guys, the less like terrified I am for alts at the moment. I could see some entries. So that's VET. So XAIR, this is, I posted this, God, so long ago as a trade in the newsletter. And somehow I missed the alarm going off, which was here, but I must've posted this when it was like, here, probably in August or something. So we had the breakout and here's the retest. So this is actually pretty interesting, although anything regarding airlines with COVID right now is risky, and it did just lose the 50 here, had this death cross. So I would really want to see it above like 555, back above that line, but I could totally see taking a position here and having a stop, below today's lows or something. Just don't want to be trading stocks right now, to be honest with you. Not much appeal. I mean, and these charts are just so hard to look at so aggressively, like ups and downs. This one's not as bad as some other stock charts, but maybe if I zoom out on the weekly, we have these September lows. I mean, there's a lot of ways to draw a range on this, but based on my previous setup, though, I would say it looks like you could buy it here, but maybe if it's back above 537 and holds the center of that kind of thing, it would be looking good. For people who love MAs, this will make you wet, right? 50 MA on the weekly, perfect rejection. So you might even want to be back above that. It's all about your own risk tolerance and the way you trade. I'm not buying it right now. I missed it. I would have bought it here probably. And maybe I would have moved my stop up above the 50 or something. But at this point, like, it wasn't that convincing of a breakout. I mean, volume here and stuff. And then you got like this just dribble over here. So I don't really know, to be quite honest. I don't see anything so like convincing or compelling that's making me feel like I'm dying to get in that one. So I'm going to go over and take a look at the chat, which I have not done. That was all the requests. First time YouTube sub, been following on Twitter. Thank you. You used lightning bolts too, which are always cool. Remember guys, you have to hit the little dummy thing. Mocho, I don't know if you're still here, dude. What's up? One of my favorite guys, Macho. I call him Mocho, but Macho. One of my favorite people on Twitter, man. Absolutely amazing dude. Great trader. The one where you showed us that Link was the most bullish chart you've ever seen. Can you please give an update on that long-term chain? Oh, well, somebody saw it when I talked about Camilla Russo, and I happened to revisit it, so we managed that. How much longer is this alt death season going to last? I have no idea. I'll just say that the more wrecked they get, the more I start listening, but I think watching, but there could be more capitulation. I don't really know. There's a couple others. 80% to Apex is still okay. Yes, that's absolutely true. Just gets a lot less interesting soon. Should I put 120x? No. Sir, burr. Okay, there's a lot of ridiculous comments here. Somebody did ask for XRP and Litecoin here. I don't usually take requests here, but it would be interesting actually to take a look at a couple just large caps to get an idea of what's going on. So maybe we'll do XRP. I have not opened these in a while. I'll take a look at your ripples as we ripple along. Rippling. Ooh, I don't even know what that was, but I just saw a line. Oh, crap. I don't know what I just did. Something just happened. My computer is still loading stuff, so I think I just moved a line on accident. I don't know. Let's see. Well, there's no, whatever time frame. Let's go to the daily. Wow, you are wrecked. RSI hit 17. Yeah, this will bounce eventually, guys. That's low. Love to see it with a bullish divergence, but holy crap. This thing is destroyed. Yeah, you can see that this was where I had an alarm. Death. I don't even care about these lines anymore. None of this. I mean, this thing is wrecked. Probably bounce and surprisingly melt faces just to troll us all. But you can see, like, going out to the weekly, there's some really key areas here. Like I said, you don't really need to draw lines necessarily. Just say, you don't need, like that. Like this is where all the price action is, right? And I can't believe this. I mean, we're basically at the Binance lows. That's it. It's currently breaking down. I mean, unless you count this crap, which I don't really. And by the way, we can look at a Bittrex chart. This will look completely different. But this was basically, I mean, we're basically at the Binance lows here. I used the wrong tool for those, by the way. But I was just trying to illustrate those ideas. But you want to be back above these areas, these big clusters of price action. But man, if this bounces off of this 1902-ish, if this closes the weekly above that, this could be a sick entry. And I'm going to bet that we have bullish divergence on the weekly. And we do. For now. Potential bullish divergence. I'm not telling you to buy XRP, for God's sakes. Don't say I did. So the daily already broke down, sadly. The daily lost it and now has retested it as resistance. See? Always happens just like that. But we have tweezer bottoms, so that's a mixed view. I would say that if you're a super XRP homer and you're just dying to potentially get dumped on by Ripple, like you're feeling like, man, this is going to blast off right before they send a bunch of coins to an exchange. Something like this is reasonable. Get you back up there and then see what happens. But you don't want to buy it until you're back above this line. I mean, RSI is so wrecked. We haven't seen that many times, right? Let's see. Lower here, 12. So it can go lower, no doubt. We've had that a few times, but this is about as low as RSI has gone on this 4 hour slight bullish divergence here, and you'll see it had a pop. even though it's tiny, right? Higher low, lower low, and a little pop up into resistance. Then a potential hidden imperative. So if you're trading on the 4 hour and you hate money because it's our XRP, just kidding, I have nothing against XRP. You might also want to wait until you break this area, right? Something like that. Up and away. Let's look at the USD pair. God, look at this laser light show. What a ridiculous, stupid looking chart. Although, not so stupid. So we had this macro descending broadening wedge breakout, which targets here. So 0.512. So that's over a 2x from where we're at now. I don't know when I drew this, but I must have looked at this for someone. This blue area is just tons of price action, right? Support, whatever. So kind of interesting. But we did break here. The 1, 2, 3 breakout. It came back in, and now we're retesting the support. So if you're trading on the dollar pair, actually, you could take a position here and put a stop either here below this support, or here below this area, back in the blue area, depending on the position size that you want to take. You decide where your stop is, and then you backtrack to your position size and back calculate that way. This doesn't look terrible. Doesn't look terrible. So I could see you taking something here, as ridiculous as it seems, but it's also at a low, high, higher low. I don't know, call that a higher high, but it seems to be trending, but that could also be some sort of like kind of bear flag vibe. So, I mean, I wouldn't touch it, but Godspeed if you want to. Someone asked about Litecoin. How disappointing have these coins been from like the big 2017 pumpers, by the way? Depressing. Super lame. Oh yeah, love this. Check out this red line, right? This is the support from the dead bottom in March. Resistance, resistance, resistance. I wouldn't want to trade it below that line for now. Although, if we zoom in, we might have a little bit of a, no, we don't. It's kind of an ascending pattern, so I wouldn't even call this particularly great. I was going to say maybe there was a bull flag or something, but it's more of this. No. Don't love it. Could go up. By the way, I've seen people call these bull flags. A bull flag has to be a descending channel. An ascending channel is not a bull flag. It's just not. There are rules. You have to abide by them. I mean, there's a clear, support somewhere in here. So take a dip down to $51. I would buy that. Right. Pretty good, actually. Not mad. And the red line's ascending, so price can just kind of go up above it, up that way. So I would say that if this channel holds, I could see you taking a position if you're dying to get in it. I'm not doing it, right? But a break above that would be a break above that red line, and we should be heading up for sure. So I would personally be looking for a dip down here if it happens, but I'm not trying to trade Litecoin right now. If it's not good enough for Charlie Lee, it's not good enough for me. Dude won't even trade his own coin after he's sold it all. So why do I want to trade Litecoin right now? Oh, the Bitcoin pair is properly wrecked. It's pretty hideous. Don't like it. Not good. Oh, this is at the lows, like ever-ish. God, look at this thing. Look at this wick over here. That's a good time. Again, this is a Binance chart, so it's not really indicative of everything. I would move this down to here. And last week, pumped right up to it, fell down. You got to be back above this line to have any interest. That's it. So set an alarm at 446. See if you can get above it. Target this. Then you got some quick areas. Always start at the right when you're drawing a line, right? I didn't mean to draw that, but could do something here. Clear highs, something like that. again, like they could be here. These are areas, maybe here. Then something up here, maybe right here, you could see these lows. I bet that will line up with this highs over here. Something like that. I don't know. Ain't good. You maybe want to take this. You convince yourself you want to be a part of that. I don't know. Can't even really draw a good range on this. It's just dropping. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking on those coins. So stop sharing my screen here. It's about 3 o'clock. I've been on here for an hour. I got a new camera, which came today, Logitech, and I look like I have like a really aggressive sunburn, and it's crazy. I don't know what. And I was talking to Michael Saylor, and I was like, that lobster glow that I've got is really, really attractive. So let's just check the comments again. Bitcoin, thanks for charting. Stay away to that crap. You get credit from tax if you hold XRP. Yeah, really dead inside. Buy to write off from taxes. It's pretty funny. I saw something about airlines, but I don't know. But I think we're about done here. I have to go pick up my child soon. So thank you guys once again. Remind you that this is sponsored by Femex. It's where I trade. That's where my Ethereum underwater longs presently reside. So you can find that link below. You can also find the link for the newsletter. Thank you so much for tuning in. And actually, I know I just did this yesterday with Crypto ISO. Tomorrow I have another legend and we're going to talk. This was not planned that I was going to do this 3 times in a row. It just kind of happened. But Dan Gunsberg, he's the CEO of Hero Labs, HXRO. He's been trading for well over 2 decades. I had him on the podcast. He's a good friend. It's just an amazing trader, and what they're doing at Hero is incredible. So I'm just having him on to talk about that a little more, talk markets and whatever. I love this forum. Like, the podcast is amazing, but when I have a trader on the podcast, like, we can't discuss what's happening right now, because by the time it comes out in 2 or 3 weeks, it's generally irrelevant. It's half the reason I wanted to do this, because it gives me the opportunity to talk to people about what's literally happening right now. And then we can go back like 3 days later and troll ourselves for being so wrong. Keeps you humble. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and check us out same time tomorrow, 2 p.m. EST. Thank you and peace.